of the Hebrew on God resting on the seventh day doesn't...
Refreshing.
Again, these are English words for biblical Hebrew.
What does refreshing mean?
Well, again, it's an English...
In Hebrew. Nafas.
You're asking, the Hebrew word says this. What our tradition, what the rabbis say about that is not the interpretation.
What do they say?
Well, first of all, God is not man. God needs no rest. God is infinite power. The same Allah, the same concept of Allah that Islam preaches is the Jewish concept of God, which is, of course, exactly why Muhammad ruled from the Torah before the Quran. It is the Jewish version of God. You don't get to ascribe to the Jews that God needed to take a nap. Okay, you don't get to do that. That's disrespectful to Muhammad and the
What
Torah
is the Jewish
from
interpretation?
Which he ruled. Do you understand?
He didn't rule from the Torah.
What you just said. Yes, he did.
He didn't rule from the Torah. He gave a judgment to the Jewish people when they came based on their own book. That was a judgment for them from their own book. So you are misinterpreting it.
Jews are ruled by their own book. Sounds
Yes.
like evidence to me. So
That's exactly what he did.
Jews are ruled from their own book.
What evidence do you have that he ruled from the book for himself?
The Jews taught Muhammad, okay, and the world.
They did not teach him. He taught them.
The Jews taught
This
the
is
world about
what is your evidence?
The definition.
What is your evidence that they taught him? You're making up statements of history.
I mean, he was around Jews. I mean,
No, he was not around Jews. He
was-
taught them.
what
He
you
corrected
said-
them.
What you said was he could have come to the world without having known the Torah, without having been around Jews. You just said that as his thing.
No.
He wasn't brought into that world. He was brought in a world exposed to Jews and the Torah, from which he ruled. Even if you want to limit it, that's fine.
No.
I don't
He
think-
didn't rule. He
However,
taught.
you do not get to disrespect Muhammad or the Quran.
But you haven't
or
explained the Jewish
or
interpretation of
Torah
it.
by suggesting that the Jews said God needed an act. The Jews
What
never
is the
said
interpretation?
that. They taught about-
I'm waiting.
I'm sorry, I let you talk.
I'm waiting to hear the interpretation.
Yeah, that was your interpretation. You said it was an error, and you said that it needed to be corrected. Okay, and what I'm saying is that is a false approach.
So what is the interpretation?
Hashem is one. Allah is one. Allah is infinite. Allah has no limit, and Allah does not need an act.
That's not
and the Torah
the subject.
And the
We are
Torah
talking about a
doesn't
text.
say that, and for you to interpret it that way is a deep aspersion and disrespect
Nope.
to the Torah, the Quran, and Allah. Okay, because
I know you felt offended, but that's what the text says. That's what the text says.
If you're here to spread the good word, as the Christians call it, okay,
So-
then try.
so what
try
does-
to be at
what
least
does the word
mildly
mean?
generous to the basis of Allah.
What does it mean to rest and refresh?
I will defer to the rabbis and the
And
great,
what do they say?
I will refer first to Rashi and the civil interpretation.
Sure.
My basic, limited understanding. I'm not a ordained rabbi or knowledgeable enough to speak, but the nature of God's relationship with the world changes as man gets here, because man is created in God's image. Okay, and then man is created in God's image. We are. That is a. But you have that. B'Tselem Elohim. Do you have that? Do you have
We're
that?
talking about rest and refreshed.
I know. Okay, but the idea here is that God's relationship with the physical world changes when a being he has created in his own image joins it. So it changes his relationship with the world because he is creating man in his image in the world. So when it says on the seventh day God rested, it suggests that it leaves some room for man to do something, like have free will and choice. And so my interpretation is along those lines, because I believe that's a classic Jewish interpretation. But it is definitely not a mistake. It is definitely not.
Refreshed?
That is how many times do you want me to say? You are giving an English interpretation
Nafas.
of a
Hebrew.
Hebrew.
I'm giving you the Hebrew.
word in the context, which has a meaning.
Which is,
as I've described, that is the full meaning. The Torah, remember, was given in two parts. The Torah,
you're explaining everything else apart from that statement.
yes, but I just have explained it. The Torah was given in two parts, right? A written Torah, and you're choosing a word, and I'm giving you its meaning, and an oral Torah, right? Because, as for example, it says in the Torah, you will slaughter the animals as I have shown you. Okay, it's not written down how to do it. It says as I've shown you.
No problem.
Because very obviously there's an oral Torah. So the words given are intended to express a meaning coupled with the oral Torah. And I have given you, coupled with the oral Torah, this is my understanding of what it means when it says God.
Sure. Has anyone understood the meaning of resting and refreshing according to Rashi?
Well, I I think
According to you,
I don't,
has anyone here understood the meaning of resting and refreshing according to our friend here in the Hebrew?
create space for free choice for man who's made in
So now you realize you have spoken, you have answered, but no one seemed to have understood what it meant.
Jews do.
So no,
Jews do.
but you see, that's the problem, because
really.
you need to make sense of.
Not really, because Muhammad learned
So-
the nature of Allah from this.
Of course
from this.
not from the Jews. He taught the Jewish people. He taught the Christians. He debated them, corrected in their erroneous ways. So you have an understanding that he actually borrowed from Judaism. Islam is a creation of
Muhammad's
Judaism
a
and
man,
offshoot.
right? He can't
It's not
appoint
at all.
prophets.
It's the opposite. He is an independent prophet of God. God chose him to be a prophet of God, gave him independent revelation. That's why I asked about the falsification test. Why do we not find a Jew or a Christian trying to imitate the Quran? Because they know they would fail, as they have been failing throughout history.
We don't need
So-
Torah life.
So why are they not imitating a chapter, a surah like the Quran? Because that's the challenge of the Quran. If you cannot do so, it establishes the Quran is from God, because you could not falsify this book. Why are you not finding any Jewish scholars over the centuries to imitate a chapter of the Quran? Because they know it's not doable. They know it is impossible to imitate the Quran. They know in their hearts that Quran is indeed from God. But you still follow your traditions. That's what we're saying. You are happy with the traditions, even when God says, what if your forefathers were wrong? Would you still follow them? And the Quran points to those errors where you have lost from the original guidance of God by even killing so many prophets and messengers that came. Why were the prophets and messengers killed by the Jewish people?
It's a great question. The Torah and the history of the Jewish people is a very simple concept for the world to understand, which is the Jews are in an eternal covenant with God, make a lot of mistakes. I think you just pointed out several in terms of listening and not listening to the prophets, killing the prophets.
Why were they killing? Yeah.
Because the Jews are imperfect and follow their laws and our laws imperfectly. And yet, the Torah is very clearly a book that shows that even when the Jews make a mistake, God is there to punish the Jews.
But killing their own prophets?
God is there.
It's not a simple mistake.
God is there to punish the Jews, and yet still has love for them, so that they can reestablish their relationship with God. And that is ultimately what the Torah is. Well, I don't think he wants to get into that. Not with Mansur, but maybe later. But so the Torah is a book to show that God's infinite promise to His people lasts even though they make these terrible mistakes. Which the Torah, by the way, will list them. Forget about the prophets. How about 40 days after Mount Sinai, the golden calf?
Yeah, exactly.
How about the sin of the spies? How about demanding to go back to Egypt right after they got taken up? Endless sins of the Jews in the Torah. Endless. And yet, God fulfills His promise and the Jews come back. God punishes the Jews and they come back. The Jews have a covenant and a relationship with God, which God promises. God promises to take part. In Deuteronomy 37, it talks to the people, though, who think it's their job to punish the Jews. The man's job. It's not man's job. That's God's job. That's
So are the
Lord's
Jewish
job.
people ready to come to Islam, to the final prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is the question. Or are they going to be stubborn like they were before, killing prophets and messengers that God sent to them? Are the Jewish people still going to display that arrogance and stubbornness by killing prophets and now rejecting the prophets of God like they rejected Christ and they rejected Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam?
I suggest the Jews start following the Torah, and then we can talk.
But the Torah they have not preserved. That's the problem.
That's always been, like I said, that's what the Torah recounts the story of not preserving it, getting
That's
punished.
why you have to come to a fresh revelation from God, which is unadulterated, uncorrupted, the Quran. And the Quran demonstrates that this is from God for you, the Jewish people, you, the Christian people, you, the people of the world. And still you're saying, I don't need it. Well, what can I say? You need God, and yet you don't want it. You need God, but you don't want it.
No, we
That's the difference.
We love God. We just have enough in our own blood
Anyway,
to keep us busy.
nice
Mansur,
speaking
okay.
to you. Take care. Where are the comments?
I thought he's a Christian. I didn't know he was a Jew.